Good afternoon. Welcome to Artist Spotlight on Life 97.5 FM, where we chat with a gospel artist using their voice to proclaim Jesus Christ wherever they may be around the world. I'm Krista J. Paul, and it is my honor, my sheer pleasure, my blessing to welcome to Artist Spotlight none other than Dawkins and Dawkins. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yes, good to see you. Your brothers, Anson and Eric Dawkins, consisting of Dawkins and Dawkins, who've been hearing about you for a while now and listening to your music. You've been on the scene. You're no babies on the scene. You're seasoned men of God. And we just love to be able to hear from you, hear your story, even how you got into this business and what God has been teaching you. So let's start with, I don't know, should I ask who is the older brother? Maybe I should start with the older brother. If you could give us a little background.
That would be me. That would be me. I'm the oldest by 11 and a half months or so. So we are what they would call Irish twins.
Right.
So
well, me meaning Anson, just for the listeners.
Yes, Anson here. So we grew up kind of as almost as twins. I mean, we went to school together. We were in the same grade. We never had the same classes, but there were a couple of times that we switched classes, and our teachers didn't know. So I don't know if it was because they weren't paying enough attention. I mean,
because we all look the same.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, we grew up experiencing a lot of the same things at the same time. But I was still the older brother, and eventually became the smaller older brother. So that happens. But that's our story, and I'm sticking with that.
Fair enough. All right, so just a little background for our listeners. You would have been brought up in church. How did you get involved in music?
We were definitely brought up in church. This is Eric speaking, just for listeners. We were brought up in church. We're PKs, so the story is I was almost born in church.
Oh.
My mom happened to, I think she went into labor while she was in church with me. But we grew up in church doing music. I took a liking to piano. Anson was playing drums, so we ended up being. See the drums in the background?
Yes, and I see the piano in the background too.
We ended up being the musicians for my dad's church, as well as my mom, who was the minister of music. And so just throughout the years, we got deeper and deeper into our love for music, and it just turned into something that we felt like we could do professionally and on a larger scale than just, local church. And got an opportunity to meet Fred Hammond. We met him several times because we were huge Commission fans.
Right.
So whenever they were within like a 2-hour trip, we would try to go and see them in concert. So we saw them in concert several times and got to meet them. And one particular time they were in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was really close to where we were kind of raised. Anson told them, like, I don't know who we are, but you're going to know.
That's
and
right.
Cut to probably maybe 2-3 years later, we get a chance to play a demo for Fred Hammond, and he pretty much on the spot said, we need to be in the studio doing our record like right now, like yesterday. And at the same time hired us as musicians and background singers for commission. So we toured with them. And that's really how we got introduced into the business.
That's good. And was it what you expected? Because I mean, we know that singing is different from the business of the music.
Yeah.
What would you have learned at that time?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that we learned was that it's not as glamorous all the time as it appears. It's a lot of work, but if it's something that you love, something that you cherish, and you have great people around you, it can be a rewarding experience, even with the challenges. Because everything that's good, everything that's beneficial or has some value to it is going to have some challenges in there somewhere. But I think we've taken a lot of the challenges and met them head on and dealt with them pretty much correctly. And those that we didn't, we tried to learn from. We tried to learn from along the path. So it's been an experience, but it's been one that I wouldn't change. There are some things, of course, that we did along the way that was like, that wasn't the best decision,
Right.
but we learned from it. We learned from it, and I think that's a good thing.
That's amazing because, I mean, since your first release in 1993, your first album,
Right.
all of 28 years, you have a wealth of knowledge that you can pass on, a lot of lessons that you've learned. What are some of the lessons that you would have learned along the way in this 28 years?
Oh wow, I think the one of the biggest lessons we've learned was patience, because in our time things don't happen. It's all about God's timing. So we had to learn that lesson like really early, and because we were what people labeled as pioneers or trailblazers, we didn't really we didn't really get to experience the what you would call spoils of what we created until way later on. Like, I mean, we're getting a lot of recognition now. Of course, we got our respect and everything from industry. A lot of industry cats that are like huge now. They looked up to us and considered us like mentors and give us they put the label of y'all were the first ones to do this, or y'all, if it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now. So we get a lot of that. But we had to learn that just because a lot of times when you're the first to do something, you don't really get to experience the reward from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like being a first child, huh? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep, that's right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. So we learned that lesson early on, and we're good with it, because we realized and recognized that this was a call from God, and He's ordered our steps this far, and we trust Him to put us in situations that are going to be advantageous to us, as men of God and husbands and fathers and all that kind of stuff. So life has just we've been good.
Well, it's not easy for anybody to be singing for 28 years, to be on the scene for 28 years. We see, I would say, we see worship leaders, they come a dime a dozen, they're in and they're out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's whether, and even in the secular industry, it's the same. What do you do to stay relevant? What do you do to stay on top? How do you stay in the game?
Well, I think one of the cool things about us doing it the way that we've done it, it wouldn't be considered orthodox in the way that we've done it. We've done it kind of our own way, and we've taken some time back from the spotlight, from being out front and doing the production and writing thing, and as well, Eric has continued to stay in some of the circles that I'm being a worship pastor at a church, and staying in that vein for all these years as well. Eric has continued to move in the circles of production and writing and working with mainstream artists and things. So that kind of keeps us in the loop as far as that goes. It's still things continue to change. Being artists, jumping back out being artists is still a little, we're picking up little things along the way. It's like, oh, okay, oh, they doing this now. Okay, they playing around with that now. Oh, we got to do that too. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's go here. But still maintaining that sense of humility and integrity along with the process, because those are things that we can kind of bring to the table with our artistry that help us to maintain relevance. Because I don't think integrity, I don't think humility, I don't think maturity ever gets old. Never gets old. See what I did there.
See what you did there.
What I did there. I'm good. I'm good.
That boy good. Good and terrible.
Oh, right.
No, no.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh my goodness. I see you. I see you mixing humor as well to keep it together. So that's good.
That's part of how we stay, young. We take our relationship with God serious, but we don't take life so serious that we can't laugh at life. Because there's a lot of funny stuff, especially in the church. Especially in the church.
Yes, yes. Why is that? I mean, that's always a thing, especially in the church. You have to, anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Yep, it is.
So tell us about even your latest release, Come By Here. It's doing well. How did it come about it? Who wrote it? How did you arrange it and so on?
We actually wrote that together. A lot of our songs we write together. Our process is not so traditional because we live in two different places. So a lot of times, I'll come up with ideas and I'll send it to him, and he'll expand on it, and then send files back and forth, and then get the finished product. But Come By Here, we've kind of over the years always tried to take at least one or two songs that we listened to or learned growing up in the church, and take it and put a new spin on it. So this one happened to be the one for this particular project. It's just that old, come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. So we just took took that song and put our spin on it, and really it spoke to where we are in the world today. It's like we really need God to stop on by, because there's a lot of stuff going on, especially over the last 2 years. There's been a lot of stuff going on. We've lost a lot of people. We've experienced a lot of I would say social injustice. We'll keep that right there. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but we've experienced a lot as a people, and we just felt like we had a voice and a platform to say some stuff that would get people to thinking like, yeah, that's probably who we need to call on. Not our government, not even our pastors. We need God to come by here.
That's right. That's right. Come by here. And we're hearing it here on Life 97.5 FM in Barbados. How is it for you spreading out internationally? I mean, after 28 years, how do you balance that? Touring, singing? Go ahead.
Well, we because the projects just came out, not too long ago. We are just kind of getting out into touring and stuff like that. So those are things that are going to be. We'll revisit that question to see how we're doing.
That's fine. That's fine. I meant generally speaking, not necessarily just for this single.
Well, generally speaking, we have loved being able to travel and sing in different areas, different countries. We haven't been able to get to Barbados, which we would love to do.
Get there.
We definitely have to get there. But it is one of the things we noticed when we first started going to different countries was the love or the energy that happened when we would go to different countries. It seemed so different from being in the States a lot of times, where people would they love music, they love gospel music, and they seem to love us. So we were just, anytime we got to go out of the country and go to different places, we would just be so elated to do that. And we're looking forward again to doing the same thing. So because of what Eric mentioned with some of the things that are going on worldwide, globally, that it's such a good thing to be universal in how we deal with things, knowing that the things that we're singing about, the things that we're dealing with, people all over the world are dealing with some of the same things. And we don't have to, it's not an American thing. It's not necessarily a Black thing. It's not a man thing. It's not, so it is, everybody is dealing with hard stuff. And the way we deal with that hard stuff, I think when we have a message of hope, and we have a message of joy and peace and life, and how to get through some of the hard times, and admit that we've had some hard times, and admit that we haven't always done things correctly, but God has always continued to show up and be faithful to us in every situation. And God is always still good. He's always still working things together for good. So eventually, even though it doesn't feel that way at the moment, we're going to eventually get there to where it's going to look good, it's going to be good, and we can trust in that fact that God is always working things together for good.
You better preach.
Come on. Come on. Give me an idea.
Oh,
yeah.
love it. Wait, where's more? I'm waiting for more. Okay. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I love the vibe. I love the energy. I love the camaraderie, the unity. That's the you're clearly in sync with each other. Yeah. I see why they call you twins.
Yeah.
Not just because you're born so closely, but
he's my best friend, my business partner, my first business partner. And so it just makes sense. That's why we do what we do, because we love the music, and he's my favorite person to work with. So, and it comes across.
That's nice. Good to hear these things. No, Yes, that's good. Oh my, what advice would you give to upcoming gospel artists out there? They see Dawkins and they say, well, you've been on the scene a while, some with big names in the industry, and they may think it's a little impossible, especially now because the market seems so saturated. What would you say to those artists?
I would say make sure you know yourself, know your worth, know your value, and don't be afraid to let other people know what you feel like you're worth, because there's a lot of people that get taken advantage of in this industry, and it sends them into a tailspin, and it could change the trajectory of where they're supposed to be, if they're not rooted and grounded. That's the other thing for us. We have a solid foundation in our relationship with God, just because of the way we were raised. So it's not something that we went into without seeking God first, because we've had opportunities and propositions to do other stuff, as far as music is concerned, but this is a heart thing for us. So it's easy for us to do what we do. Also, that patience element that I was speaking of before is something that you need to get really, really familiar with, and be okay with no. Be okay with no, because you'll probably hear more no's than you'll hear yeses. But for every no, just understand that somewhere that yes is going to make those no's will make the yes feel way more special. So we've taken all that on all these years. So that's some of the advice I would give somebody coming up in the game.
You should write that somewhere and frame it. The yes will make the no's feel so much more special. Yeah, that's good. I like that. That. Anything from you, Anson? I don't want to rob you of your blessing.
I think I'll go back into humility. And there's nothing I think more telling of where a person has been and what they've traversed through than humility, or the lack thereof. So know that you're going to come into situations where you're going to have to take a back seat in certain situations where you feel like you should be out front. You should be running things. You should be doing the most. But figuring out timing, when to step forward, when to step back, knowing that whether you're taking a back seat, whether you're in the background or whether you're in the foreground, it's still your turn to do what you're doing. Everything everything is happening as it should be. Everything is as it should be, whether you're in the background or you're in the foreground. That's where you're supposed to be. And I've heard it said like this, when God has called you to do something, that if you do, like if you were called to be the janitor at a church, to be the pastor of the church would be a step down. It would be a demotion if you were called to be the janitor. So that aspect, that whatever you've actually been called to do that. Do that, and if it feels humbling, if it's something that is just a humiliating feeling, a little humiliation never killed anybody. You're gonna survive. You're gonna survive it. Trust that.
Amen. Amen. Wow, powerful words and fantastic words on which to end. I cannot have you leave without letting us know how to come by here and where people can follow you.
Well, you can come by here on all your music platforms, your digital music platforms. You can follow us on Instagram at @adawk and at @edawkins or at Real Dawkins and Dawkins. And on Twitter, same thing, at @adawk and at @edawkins. And we also have D&D Music on Twitter. And Facebook, Dawkins and Dawkins, or either one of us individually, Eric Dawkins or Anson Dawkins. And we have a website, dawkinsanddawkinsmusic.com, that's up now. So follow us on there. You can really get into what we have going on, what we have coming up.
Yeah.
And you can email us too. We have dawkinsanddawkins@gmail.com. So you can want to reach out to us and give us your testimonies or just talk to us. We respond. So that's the way to stay tapped in with Dawkins and Dawkins.
Also, we just let you know we got Christmas music as well that is out there, and we're so excited about the Christmas EP and the singles that are out. It's just a great time to experience great music with Dawkins and Dawkins. Never gets old. Never gets old.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, thank you so much. Yes, indeed. Remember, it's Christmas time. Get your Dawkins and Dawkins music to add to your Christmas collection. It's always good to have good Christmas music. There's just some things you just have to have good Christmas music.
Never gets old. I'm gonna keep saying that.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Artist Spotlight all the way from Barbados on Life 97.5 FM. Dawkins and Dawkins, Anson and Eric Dawkins, for sharing your testimony here with us. And we wish you all God's best. We'll come by here and whatever you do from here on.
Thank you so much. So grateful to be here. Thank you for having us.
God bless.
God bless.